Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before we get into it with our guest here, well, first of all, everyone should recognize our guest who's a longtime listener. We have Sherry back on the podcast for it's either the third or fourth time. I'm gonna be completely honest. I lose track. I don't
Yeah.
even know anymore.
This is the third.
I think it might be the third time. Yeah, that's true. So, but I don't know. Again, I've had some guests on. I just flip a coin basically and just guess. But as you can tell, she's getting ready for a bodybuilding show. If you couldn't tell that, I don't know what to do with you, but yeah, she's on here to share her journey. And I mean, it's been almost 2 years. We had her in August of last year was the last time we had her on for a podcast. And yeah, I'm very happy to have her on again. Sherry, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad you're still doing it.
Absolutely. Well, honestly, so yesterday was my 4-year anniversary of the first ever podcast that I ever did.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yep. I watched it and I realized I think I might have got 1% better than I did the first time I did a podcast. That was bad. Yeah.
1% better is better. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, talking about a little bit more than 1% better. I mean, you took all of last year off to get ready for this year. What has it been like? What have you been up to in the almost 2 years since we haven't talked?
I've just been training hard and sticking to my plan and enjoying actually a long off season. I had a really long run in 2020. Did 4 shows, spread out longer than I had anticipated, and it took a little toll on my body. So we needed a good reset, a good break. It allowed me to be able to focus on my kids and my, family. We got to take some vacations and just live life a little bit while still sticking to my goals. So it was a much needed break, and I think that I'm coming back this year improved and rested and ready to go. So it did my body good.
What do you think has been one area that you've improved the most on since we last talked?
Physique wise?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. When I look at the pictures, my goal was to get bigger legs. I did. I'm still not completely happy with them, but when I look at my pictures, I just improved overall everywhere. So it's hard for me to say specifically one thing. I just my whole shape has changed. It's just a different look, a different package. It's more complete. So overall, just improved.
You damn bodybuilders, you can look just as good as you look, and you'll still be like, oh, I still didn't do enough, or I still need to work on some stuff. I'm like, I don't get you guys, but
What
hey,
do they say? It's called bodybuilding, not bodybuild.
That's true.
Forever.
I mean, that's why I never compete, because I'd go to stage one time and I'd be like, yeah, this is as good as it's gonna get. Like I'm done. I did what I can do, but I mean, yeah, it's been, you're one of those people that I love that you took the year off and you're able to still like enjoy yourself and still come back. Because a lot of people, I think they do go through that, I did her out of just, competing year after year, doing 5 to 6 shows a year. And then just their body just slowly wears down, and then they slowly just lose that urge to compete, or their body just shuts down and then they can't compete. And what was the one thing that you enjoyed the most about taking that year off?
Just the lack of pressure. I think I really enjoyed going to the gym and training and pushing myself and just focusing on getting better and techniques and learning, new ways to train. I didn't have that like, I only have so many months to put this much size on. And I only have I just enjoyed it. And so it took a lot of the pressure off. So much that I'm contemplating after this year taking another full year off. I think that doing shows every year, I don't really think that that's what bodybuilders were meant to do. Honestly, the way the shows are set up, if you do that, you really only have about 4 to 6 months to make improvements. I mean, because you have to ramp back up after depleting yourself. So that takes some time. And then, how much can you really improve in 4 to 6 months? Every time I step on stage, I want it to be like, whoa, she's been working, So, yeah, I think that was a good strategy for me.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So let's say you do make it to the Olympia and you place like, let's say top 5 or top 3. Would you have to then compete next year then basically?
Yeah, right. I might have to eat my words if that happens.
Because I've had so many, like I have one guest who every time I have her on, she says, yeah, I'm going to retire after this year. And then the next year I'll have her on and she'll say the same thing and it's been over. But no, I know. Yeah, it really all just depends on, placings and everything. But like I said before,
It does. Yes. And if I win a show this year, and go to the Olympia. Obviously, I'm going to be competing more than I expected to this year, and um, nothing's written in stone, but my overall health is the most important thing for me. And not just physically, mentally. Um, and just the well-being of my family. I have 3 kids. I was really lucky that this year my daughter graduated high school and it was her senior year, so that worked out well that I got to spend some extra time with her and not be so focused on the sport itself. So all of those things come into play with me. The stage will always be there. I'm nowhere close to being retired, so we'll just take it as it comes.
What was your kids' reaction when they had their mom for a full year where they didn't have to, oh, mom doesn't have to do her cardio at like 6 a.m. or something? What was their reaction to all that like?
They've enjoyed it. Some other things that have changed in my personal life. I'm a dental hygienist that's my job. And so I was working 4 days a week. That's typically full time for a hygienist. But some things happened in my office that allowed me to go down to a 3-day week, but I work longer days, for those 3 days. So I don't typically train 2 of those. And I come home and I'm completely focused on my kids. And then so the 4 days that I'm not in the dental office, I can focus on bodybuilding during the day when they're not home. So it has been really nice to separate that and not really have it be much of a impact on them this year. It's helped a lot. That's another thing that's helped just my mental clarity. Not feeling rushed, not feeling guilty that I'm gone. I'm not no more 3 a.m. workouts, no more midnight workouts. Because that's what I was doing for a while. That was my grind, and it's a lot. And so now I have more, just if there's such thing, I think more balance. So it's been good.
Well, I can just say, had I never met you and known your profession, I would have guessed something in the dentistry because anyone that has teeth that white, they got okay, you have to do something. You're either an actress or you're doing something in dental. Like those are the two options right there. So yeah, I wish
Yeah,
I need.
I have to kind of, advertise what I do in both regards. No one wants to, get trained by a fat chick, and nobody wants their teeth cleaned by somebody who's got yellow teeth, right?
That's true. That's true. I do need to. I've never gotten my teeth whitened. I might need to look into it though myself because I still have those stupid scars from braces on the teeth where like they have the
Uh,
little things and
Squares
yeah,
like
the
making
little
the bite.
squares and stuff like that. Oh yeah, don't even. Yep, that is yeah. That is my. I mean, still to this day, that's why I tend to just smile like that. No, really teeth shown,
Oh,
but hey, I'll work.
we'll talk after the show. There's things that can be done to fix that.
Oh
So
yeah,
you shouldn't
absolutely.
have to walk around feeling like you shouldn't smile.
Oh, no,
Smiles are
no, no, it's
beautiful.
not that bad. Like it's just like on the bottom of my two upper teeth. Really, it's just those white lines basically that come around. But
They
yeah,
can get those out of there.
I am blessed that like I was one of those kids though where like don't even get me started on my braces. Like I stayed home from school for like 2 days. I was crying. Like my teeth were so messed up that like literally to get them back into adjusted, it was horrible. And I was lucky though because I was one of those kids that got it done in like fourth grade. So by the time middle school came around, I had like the perfect teeth. So
Good. I know my son just got his a couple years ago. Well, in 2020 when the pandemic was happening, and he's real concerned about his looks. And I'm like, dude, you're wearing a mask. This is like the perfect time to have braces. Nobody even sees your face. You are living the dream. So
well, talking about your kids, I saw your one post too with your son. That kid's pretty jacked to himself.
he's the one with the braces. Yeah, I'm proud of him. He's been in the gym, and he's definitely taking an interest in bodybuilding. He's starting to. He's played football and he's wrestled, so he's into sports. But he really enjoys pushing himself in the gym and training together, and it's been a really nice thing to have to bond with my teenage son. I mean, a lot of moms don't get that opportunity, so I know how blessed I am that we have that together, and it's super cool. He's coming to Chicago with me to see the show. Um, you know, he'll be at the Olympia if we make it there. So yeah, it's been good.
He's got to have that mindset though of like I got to be at least as strong as my mom or something like that. I can't live my life. I can't live my life like that. But
It's a
no,
little pressure. It's a
yeah.
little pressure.
Oh my god,
He
yeah.
tells me all the time. He's like, I'm just mad that you've got bigger arms, bigger shoulders, and I'm like, buddy, I've been at this for like 5 years every day. It takes time. But that's another great thing that he gets to see, that consistency and applying yourself every day little bit by little bit adds up to big results. So so he knows, but yeah, he it's funny because when he was 13 or 14, I mean, he cried. He did not want me to be a bodybuilder. He told me, he said, "Can you just be a treadmill mom? I do not want you to have muscle." Because kids his age were making fun of him a little bit, and I just had to just calmly tell him, like, I don't live my life for the opinion of 13-year-old boys. I'm sorry. And so, it is what it is. But we have definitely gotten to the point now where he's proud and, like I said, trains with me and is glad to be out with me. So it feels good. Feels
Well, I live my opinion for the opinion of 12-year-old boys. I go for the 12-year-olds, not the 13-year-olds. So,
good.
that's my main demographic right there. But I mean, yeah, that motivation is a great thing. But I mean, also with this whole journey that you've been going through, I mean, with COVID being more, I mean, last time we talked to you, I mean, it was August of 2020. So COVID was still just this huge thing. Was this off season or prep easier for you dealing with the fact that like the gyms are more opened up now and everything's back to normal?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, this yeah, to prep through COVID and do those shows through COVID was pretty stressful. To not know if your shows were happening or not happening, sneaking into the gym like you were breaking the law. I mean, I felt like it was the prohibition, and I'm trying to get alcohol, but I'm just trying to go to the gym. Um, so I mean, definitely easier that we have access, and it really makes you appreciate the freedom that comes with that for sure. But also just showed me though that if I can prep through a pandemic, I can prep through pretty much anything.
Absolutely not. I do got to mention everyone. She is one of those examples that I show where like people are like, "Oh, I'm too old to get in shape." You didn't start bodybuilding until your 40s, everyone. So I mean, it's like I always use that as an example. I say, yeah, well, look at Sherry Priami. I've had her on a few times. She's one of those that started late, and it's just that's the best motivation out there. But I mean, have
And
you?
that's another thing that, if me for my kids, for example, I hope that one day my grandkids are like, my grandma became a bodybuilder when she was in her 40s. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. And, it happened for me when the time was right in my life. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm just a regular mom with 3 kids that decided that this is something that I was passionate about. Again, you just stick with something long enough and
Yeah. I don't know if everyone can do the midnight or 3 a.m. workouts, but that might be the thing that separates you from most of the general public. But yeah.
I'm a little stubborn that way. And when I have a goal and I put my mind to something, I mean, by all means necessary. So that has to come from within for sure. Um, and I do pride myself on that a little bit, but I do also know that not everybody's like that, and I do know it's a little bit of crazy. Um, but I think that you have to be a little bit of crazy in anything you do in order to succeed. You know, um, obsession is a good thing. So.
I've always said that you'll never see like a Ned Flanders being a bodybuilder. It takes a special type of person to be a bodybuilder. Yeah, you have to have that drive and that fire and that passion inside of you. But
You do.
has your training changed at all since your last prep, or are you still doing? Is it just you're just? How did you add on the size? Is basically what I'm trying to get at.
We fed me more this off season. So the food was up. My protocols as far as supplementation and things like that have stayed the same. We haven't changed anything there. So that I think my intensity with my training has improved. Definitely better mind muscle connection, focusing, more on my negatives, really trying to connect, while I'm training, not just getting through the motions. That has definitely changed. I have a boyfriend I've had for the last 2 years that trains with me. And I really think that helps too. He's given me that extra push on the days that I, maybe wouldn't have pushed myself so hard, forced those last few reps that maybe I wouldn't have forced on myself. So that has proven, I've always been a pretty independent person. So I enjoy training alone. I don't like the distraction, but I have to say, having somebody with you who has the same passion and same persistency in what they do, to push you has made a difference for me. So I'm real thankful for him.
Yeah, I'm one of those people where if you are within a foot of me at the gym, I am not a happy person. Like, just stay away from me, stay away. I mean, that's my time to unwind and
Right.
just not go crazy during the day. So I understand, where that's coming from. But like nutrition, you said you add on more food. Was it just the same type of food that you added more onto, or did you mix things up
Yeah,
and have new
yeah.
foods?
Just the same, bodybuilder diet. I really was conscious to not have a lot of free meals in my off season. I really try to stick to plan the whole year and live like a bodybuilder all year. I don't blow it out in my off season. 1 to 2 free meals a week at the most. But that's really, I'm a pretty structured person. So that's really all I felt like I needed. Maybe one meal during the week when, I'm running short on time out with my kids, and then, one night out on the weekend, and I'm good. So it was just more volume of food. Um, and just seeing that, I was able to handle that as the season went on. Um, but yeah, no, nothing special, no magic food, no magic.
Well, damn, I was banking on you saying like I discovered a new variety of chicken that was more sweet or something like that that would like really help. But I guess I'm just gonna have to keep clogging on that way. But taking a year off of bodybuilding, did it really give you sort of an introspective on seeing the sport from an outside point of view? Because like a lot of competitors, they aren't able to really gauge either what the judges are looking for or just all the other stuff that happens in the sport when you're competing. But did giving you sort of an outside sort of view just for a year, do you think help you sort of gauge on where the sport's headed and what to expect?
Hmm. Um, No, I don't think it's really. I'm still learning. I do think that I was able to look at things maybe a little bit more objectively myself. Um, there was still some decisions made that I didn't necessarily agree with, and not real sure why things happened the way that they did. But you know, no, I mean, overall, I just enjoyed sitting back and watching um, the competitors and just seeing the package that each one brought, and some new people that I hadn't seen before, and that's always exciting. Um, but yeah, I mean, I didn't get any kind of deep insight.
To be completely honest, I would be one of those guys that didn't even watch anything for the sport. Throughout the year that I took off, I'd be like, I'm just gonna clear my head of it. I did that with baseball the first year that I never played it, and that was, yeah. So I would definitely do that. So yeah, I don't know. Some people try to like come up with like, oh yeah, I gained such a whole new perspective and stuff like that. So that's why I asked it. But I was like, let's be honest, it's only a year off. You're not gonna like all of a sudden unlock the secret to like this is exactly what the judges want. So I know. So yeah, that's just
No, and I am learning that all the judges are different, all the shows are different. I think I have my intake on who does better at what shows, kind of a thing. But that's just my opinion. It's not fact, so I don't want to sit here and say those things. Um, the shows that I choose though are based upon what I think, how I think I would do best at judging wise, and um, yeah. So I don't know.
yeah.
I can't tune out of it though. I mean, I do have to say I'm probably obsessed. Like my boyfriend's like, "Can we talk about something besides bodybuilding?"
Well, you wouldn't be a pro if you weren't obsessed. So I mean, that just
Yeah, you want to know what's going on. You don't want to be out of the loop.
yep.
Um, the one big thing that I think has been brought to everybody's attention this past year is the deaths.
You got me. I was just about to ask that the next question. So you took it right. Yeah.
Yeah, so very, very, very unfortunate. Again, I don't really think a lot has changed in the world of bodybuilding. I think a lot of the things that happened are due to outside circumstances. Um, and I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think a lot of people are thinking it, and I might be wrong, but I think the vaccinations had a lot to do, and COVID had a lot to do with people's health conditions. I know that nothing has been scientifically proven of that, but nobody's doing anything in bodybuilding that they weren't doing for the past 15 years.
Well, another guest said that thing, and I do got to warn you. I do got to put down below me and Sherry are not any medical professionals, just so I don't get canceled. Just so I don't get canceled and flagged on
Right.
this
Okay. I mean,
content.
I kind of
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really want to
We are
like,
not. We are not medical
I
professionals. Blah
am
blah blah
not
blah
a
blah.
medical professional.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you,
Oh,
my opinion
no.
on
And I
things.
have heard similar stories of that too. And when I feel like getting canceled, I will give my opinion on everything in life. So I'm waiting my turn before I unleash my thoughts, my real thoughts. But no, yeah, I understand that viewpoint, and I see some reasoning to that. I will just say that basically. But
I think things like blood clotting factors and things like that should be looked at and tested and taken into consideration if you've been vaccinated or had COVID.
yeah,
I just don't think we can turn a blind eye to all of a sudden this past year, all of this happening. So that's all.
absolutely. And
But it has made me really prioritize my health and make sure that I'm doing things in the healthiest way that I'm able to for myself. So
is it still a struggle for you? Like, I talked to some bodybuilders, and I asked them, like, is it still a struggle for you to sort of know your limits when it comes to the training or when it comes to the nutrition? Or is it something that you've been able to gauge pretty good as your career's gone on? Because there's some people, like, they just want that result so badly that they'll find a way to ignore like obvious, like, hey, maybe I should like slow down this next workout or something like that. Do you find that that's still a problem for you, or is it something that you've been able to say, like, I know my body so well that like I know when I might need to lay off a little bit?
no, I'm real in tune with my body and how I feel. I definitely know that I was pushing myself, not resting. I think we talked when we first talked. I mean, I was getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a
I
night.
remember that. Yeah.
No, and that started to take a toll on me. And I realized that, and so I have definitely prioritized rest, sleep, rest days, um, not being so determined that my plan calls for me to train today, and even though I feel like absolute crap, or something's hurting, I'm going to push through it. No, I know now that that's not smart. I've had enough injuries that I've tried to push through that I know that it's just no. So I really am trying to be as healthy as I can, and um, I have made for me, I think I respond well to building muscle. So in a short period of time, I think I've done pretty well. So I'm not like in this huge rush to to grow or to get to a certain stage. I'm really just kind of like happy with the process I've been under and the direction it's taking me. And I know that I'm older, and I do know that I have less time. Um, but this sport is pretty limited in general with how long you can do it. Um, so maybe I started later, but maybe I can go a little bit longer than somebody who started in their early 30s. Like Dexter Jackson. I mean, he was about 50 before he retired. So
I mean, yeah, I have only had probably a handful of people on here that have done this sport for over 15 years basically. Like, it's rare that you'll find that, but yeah, it's again, the genetic factor does go into that a lot. But we're
because
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I mean I'm saying it does,
Oh, I
and
thought you were saying everyone.
yeah,
I'm going off of 3 hours of sleep myself, everyone. So I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm a little out of it. I just woke. I didn't eat enough. That was the problem. So I didn't eat
oh,
enough yesterday. So then I woke up like at 3 a.m. today with like a headache, and I was like, I couldn't fall back asleep. So yeah, that's for me. It's like every 2-3 weeks I don't get that much sleep, and then for one night, and then I just find a way to plow through. But what are some of the reactions that you're getting on the street right now? I mean, looking the way that you are as you're getting close to a prep now.
yeah, people always are more attentive, sure, when you're shredded and ripped, and um, I just get a lot of stares. I tend to block it out. I don't engage when I'm walking, but my boyfriend always says like, "Oh, you should see the way that lady was looking you up and down, or you should see the way those people were staring at you," like because he thinks it's
Oh,
hilarious.
I would be doing most musculars in front of everyone, just like.
um, I definitely think my confidence is changed. I used to be a little bit more subconscious about it. Now, I mean, I'll just roll up into the grocery store with my gym clothes on and all my muscles out, not saying anything about it. Um, you know, People definitely want to ask all of the diet tips and exercise tips when they see you this way. Um, Stop you all the time. and I'm happy to help people and I'm happy to answer questions. The only thing that frustrates me is I have a very short tolerance for people who ask questions and then give me their excuses as to why they can't. So, I tend to cut those people off and kind of move
I'm
on.
not gonna lie, those people do annoy me because it's like you're asking for help, but then you're telling me why you can't take my advice. Then really,
Yeah.
it's like, then why even ask me in the first place if you're
Why are
gonna?
you wasting my time?
Yeah, exactly. I've had similar people like that too that have, either wanted to come on the podcast or have gave me advice about the podcast, and then they just like, oh, and then they just take a total 360, or a 180, the next time I mention something. So yeah, that for me is a big thing as well. But you mentioned posing. Have you changed up your routine at all in this last prep?
I'm working with a posing coach, Sharonica Henton, which you probably know who she is. She's a WPD competitor as well. Um, I think she says she's retired, but we'll see. Um, but she has been helping me with my routine this year, and a little bit with the posing, that just to kind of perfect things. I'm not real great. I'm not a Rachel Daniels or somebody who just has this artistic ability that I'm born with, but I follow directions well. So we've got something I think is pretty special to present this year. I feel good about it. It's something a little bit different. Um, it's the fun part of the sport, to do something creative. Um, yeah, so I'm excited.
I mean, yeah, I that whole posing thing just amazes me. Just how they like when you're talking about someone like a Rachel Daniels, where it's just like they just make it just look effortlessly, and you're just
Yeah,
like, how do you do that? And there's other ones I've talked to where they don't even come up with a routine until they go up on stage, really, and then they just wing it,
right.
and then they're just
My
like,
anxiety can't handle that. I'm not that kind of girl.
oh yeah, like
I'm not.
yeah,
I can't wing it.
that would be disaster for 99% of the general public too. But I mean, a question that I just recently started asking people, which shows how great I am at doing this because it took me about 550 guests to come up with it, is that I get this reaction every single time in my head, no matter what guest I have on when it comes to bodybuilding. Why do they do this to themselves? Why do they put themselves through this? I hear all these prep brain stories. I hear all these other stories, and I just think to myself, I was like, why? Like, what? Obviously, I know the reason why, but like, even just my unbiased, like, human brain is just like, why do they do this to themselves? And I
Yeah,
bet you
I'm
do.
at the 4 week mark right now, and just last week I started to get into the trenches where my feet are heavy, my arms are heavy, the prep brain is kicking in, and I even ask myself, why am I doing this? Why do I want to feel like shit?
Absolutely.
But at the end of the road, to look back, there is nothing like that feeling, to know that you have pushed your body mentally, physically beyond what you ever thought you were capable of doing, and succeeded in something that 99% of the population can't do. Um, that's real rewarding. And I've never gone through a prep and looked back and regretted it. So I don't know. I think you got to be a little bit crazy, I guess.
She said it, not me, but I'm not going to deny it. So but no,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not any different than a marathon runner. I mean, I could
Don't get
never
me
walk
started on those freaks, okay? Those people
for
are
six
just
point six miles.
that's a serious mental. I have a friend who does that, and he's like really good at it too. And he was my best friend from high school, and he's like 6'5", just super, that one of those lengthy guys. But yeah, like he's done like already like 3 or 4 this year already, and it's like,
Yeah. My girlfriend just did the Boston Marathon back in, I think it was in April.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that one too. Yeah, I want to just
Love
I
it.
want to be at the end of one of those races with a sign that says you didn't have to do this.
Yeah. So, but it's the same principle. You push yourself beyond what, you think you're capable of doing. And that's just a personal rewarding satisfaction. Um, but definitely, bodybuilding is a small niche thing. Not the majority of people want to do it or enjoy doing it. Majority of women do not want to look like me, or eat like me, or, I get that. Um,
But that's what makes it special. Is that
yeah,
yeah, not
who
every.
wants to be a regular normal person? I
Yeah,
don't.
exactly. And like I will say though, the difference between bodybuilding and those marathon runners, bodybuilders, you can listen to music and stuff like that when you're working out. A marathoner, you got to run 26 miles without anything to entertain you. So I don't know how you're able to do that myself, because that's the most boring part of any journey, fitness wise, for me, is doing any cardio without any substance to it, where
Yeah. Listening to your own breath.
oh my God, your mind wanders. Now I live next to a nature park that I go on walks for, but I have my playlist and everything ready to go. So I at least, yeah, I have that settled at least. But I mean, like we mentioned before, one of your sons, he's really interested in the sport. How important is it for you to also set that example for your kids? Like you talked about, like you can be in shape at any age and you can get started at any age. How important is it for you, like in those days when you're struggling, just realize like I am such a big motivator for my kids and for just other people out there as well?
No, that helps a lot. That definitely pushes me on certain days where, it's cliche to say, but I'm definitely a believer in, you can't be motivated every day. It has to be discipline. And I think if anything, that is just the lesson that I want my kids to learn, whether it's sports or your job or your relationships or whatever. It's the discipline. It's what you do day in and day out, that's going to make you successful. And so, no, I don't want to let them down. I want to be, I want to succeed for them. I want them to be proud. But ultimately, I do it for myself. But it's not the bodybuilding that I want them to get, the lesson from. It's
We're all going to the gym today, everyone. It's like every day a week, and so yeah, so yeah.
because I know, my daughter doesn't want to look like me, and I totally get that. But she knows that if you stick with something long enough, it becomes your way of life, and you become good at it, and it's a good, valuable lesson.
I was just picturing one of those parents being like, "You're gonna go to the gym and you're gonna like it," basically. Just, but
No,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never forced any of
Oh
them
yeah,
to go
no,
to
I
the
know.
gym.
There was
No.
one parent that sort of did that, and hey, believe it or not, that kid is now a bodybuilder. One of my friends that I grew up with, his dad was his mom and dad were both like amateur bodybuilders, and now this guy is, if I were to have him on, he literally wouldn't even be able to fit in the screen, and I'm just like, okay, I might have to have him on eventually, but yeah,
No, I think that's super cool. I mean, look at Hunter Labrada, following after his dad. I mean, what an amazing dynamic that has to be to, have your father be at such high regard and now you're following in the footsteps. I mean, that's really cool. But, you know, my kids, I want them to be individuals and have their own interests and their own, and if it happens to be that we've got the same interests, cool, great. My daughter, she turned 18 and she's moving out and she's becoming a nun and a Catholic school teacher.
wow.
Nothing that I,
I didn't even know that was still a thing, really. You could just
yeah,
go to that is wow. That
yeah,
is, if you were to give me 100 guesses of what your daughter was going to end up doing, that would not have been one of them.
neither. But that's the path that she has chosen. I'm super proud of her. I'm super proud of the.
Did she know for like a while that that's what she wanted to do, or what was?
She entertained the idea back in ninth grade, and I was real dismissive about it. I sent her on a retreat with church, and she came back with all these pamphlets. I'm just like, you're not going to be a nun, whatever. And she came to me her senior year of high school for spring break. She signed herself up at a convent for a retreat. She paid for it herself, signed herself up, and wanted to go see what it was about. Um, it's a long story as to, where her faith came in and everything, and how it has affected her. But um, this is the path that is best for her right now. And it took me a little bit to come to terms with that. It's not what I wanted. As a mother, she's my only daughter. You think you want to see them get married and have a family of their own, and those things that you just think as you're raising your children. And when that goes off a different path, I had to let go of a lot of my selfishness and really hone in on what was best for her, and to really remind myself that our children are here, by the grace of God, for a short time for us to raise, but they're not ours, um, and it's not in my control, and it's in God's hands, and He will give her the life that she's supposed to have through him. And so I've come to terms with it all, and I'm going to be seeing her off in August for her new adventure in life. And yeah, but you know, again, you can't push your life or what you want, on your kids. It's
I mean, I will say there is no higher calling, and there's nothing better than, just devoting your life to serving others and, helping out others. So more power to her. I'm glad that she's able to choose that. I mean, I'm Lutheran, so I mean my pastor has 9 kids, so that's that whole thing. But it's just that I don't even know if we have nuns. But anyway, I'll have to look that up. But
What it's helping me get through my prep, because every time I want to cheat on my diet or have an extra bite of something, I think if my daughter can give up all the worldly things that she's going to give up in order to serve God, I can go without that cookie for 3 more months. Or I can, so to watch her make those sacrifices has been really astounding for me. I'm just, it's remarkable.
it is, yeah, it is insane. The dedication that they go into with their lives. But I mean, just taking this break, taking the 2 years off and everything, what have been some of the biggest changes that you think that you've seen in the sport? Because like we said, it is an ever evolving sport and they want different looks, it seems like almost every year. So what have been some things that you've seen, from the time that you've had off?
So, I've been really paying attention to female bodybuilding, the division, and have been pleasantly surprised that a lot of the girls from WPD are moving up. That some of the smaller physiques and more feminine physiques are being rewarded in women's bodybuilding. I'm kind of happy to see that, because I do think that there is a place for that division. I do think that there is a way to do it, and not be super unhealthy or a bad example to the world. I do think that we're trying to get it back to the way that it was, in the 80s and 90s, and the way, women still had muscle but feminine.
If it was
Um,
like the 80s and 90s, you would be about you would be so much more muscular than everyone on stage
I know.
here.
I look at some of the posters and magazines, and I'm like,
You and Rachel McClish on the same stage wouldn't even be, it would be ridiculous to see.
right, right. So, but I think that they're trying to get back to that a little bit. So I'm happy to see that. As far as the changes, um, men's classic is just blowing up, and I think that personally, that's my favorite division for men. I just think it's just a beautiful aesthetic look on a bodybuilder, and I'm happy to see that that's a growing division for sure. Um, but other than that, I haven't really.
Yeah. I mean, there's always some subtle changes that are going on where you see some change. I mean, look, like let's be honest, Andrea Shaw is going to win the Olympia again. I mean, it's the
Mhm,
sun's
and
the sun.
rightfully so.
The sun's gonna set from the just like the sun rising and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, I'd say if I were my opinion, stay in physique as long as you can then, because otherwise you'll just be showing up for second. As much as I love all my other guests, I mean it's like, come on, it's ridiculous. But one issue that I've never really discussed that much on this podcast, which is an issue that affects, everybody that competes in bodybuilding and just a healthy and fitness lifestyle in general, is body dysmorphia. It's not talked about as much as it needs to be. See, I get that reaction every single time where it's just like people do not understand. A lot of people get into this lifestyle because they think that it's going to cure their body dysmorphia. I've actually heard that story multiple times where they're like, if I just get, so jacked, it's a lot of it's coming from the dude bros too, where it's like, bro, if I just get so huge, like I won't, it's like they don't realize it's going to get worse actually as you get. So how do you deal with that? Because it's like, you're telling us right now, like even in the beginning of the podcast, like, oh, there's still some stuff that I need to work on. There's still some stuff to do, where it's like any normal person is watching this and being like, she is an idiot. Look at her and just look in the mirror. Like, but how do you deal with that side of things where it's like you're never enough?
And I try not to tell people what I really think, because I do know that they think that, like, I'm crazy. And I don't tell people that I'm fat in my off season, because I know my fat's not regular fat. And my mind has actually, like, changed a lot in the process of things. When I first started, I didn't want to be as big as this. I told myself, and looking at, competitors, that I wanted to be a figure girl, and I only wanted to be this size, and WPD was too much muscle, and women's bodybuilding was way too much muscle. But now that I have put on the muscle, and I have become more comfortable every year with my added size, I am completely happy with how I look. I think I look better now with the more muscle than I did without it. I am not afraid to take up space. I am not afraid to grow bigger
Well, at your
and
size, it's kind of hard to like not take up space. So I mean, it's like that's something you got to get used to. Let's be
and I'm used to it
yeah.
and I like it. But I have a hard time. I think in reverse, like I have a hard time. Like my boyfriend's like, Sherry, you've got a lot of muscle. You're big. And I'm like, not big enough. Not big enough. I don't have big enough legs. I don't have big enough this. So that's definitely where my body dysmorphia falls into play. But I am um, learning to really appreciate my off-season body, and I think that's important for women in this sport. I think a lot of them are so hard on themselves when we don't look stage lean. I don't prefer myself stage lean. I think my face looks hard. I think I look older in the face. I prefer a little bit more, fat there. I think I just look more feminine with
People
my
don't realize because most of them never meet people that are stage ready. But like I was always tell the story of when I was in college. There's a bodybuilder and she was getting ready for a show, and I went to go give her a hug, wish her good luck at her show. It's like hugging a skeleton. It's like that look is not appealing for a lot, and not even for me as well. Like I like the look where it's like, yeah, you might be like a few months out of the show or something like that, kind of like the look that you have like right now, where
eight
it's like
eight
not
weeks
super
out is a
sucking.
good
Yeah,
look for me.
yeah,
I love
exactly.
8
Yeah,
to 9 weeks, maybe 10. Yeah. I
people don't
don't
understand that show look. It's like you are literally just bone and muscle. That's it.
yeah, and just hard,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so I definitely appreciate my off-season body more than I ever used to. I enjoy the more feminine feel that I have. I really focus on that I feel strong, my joints feel good, I can lift heavy, I can enjoy my meals and eat and not be, moody because I'm hungry. I like all of that. When I first started, I was real hard on myself because I mean, you talk to competitors all the time. It's definitely it messes with your mind to go from being shredded and have all this attention and have people like, noticing um and then to go to like
People
just
just come up
soft.
to you and like, hey, do you even work out? Are you still
Right.
competing? Yeah.
Right. I do have to say I have reached the pinnacle, which this is how like I judge it. It used to be that people would ask me, do you work out? And now it's you compete, right? Like, so I take that as a huge compliment. I'm like, okay, so I have reached the point in my body that, I look beyond just like a normal gym goer, even in my off season, people are like, you compete, right? So that's a good thing to me.
I mean, the highlight of my entire fitness journey was when I was 22 years old, senior in college, and some person went up to me and said, "What are you on?" And I was like, "That's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten in my entire life." I told him I said nothing, but I said you just gave me the biggest self confidence boost that I could have ever gotten in my entire life. So yeah,
Yeah,
just that when that public reaction just comes to you, where they're just like, "Yeah, oh, do you compete?" Yeah, that's the moment too where I would also have just been like, "Okay, I finally made it. Now I can."
right, right. Now I can rest easy. At least like don't look like the normal gym person. My efforts are paying off. And it's not even about trying to look better than somebody. It's just like I just want somebody to recognize how damn hard I'm working, you know?
That too. Well, you mentioned before we wrap things up. I mean, you mentioned that your sleep has gotten better. How have you improved your sleep? Because, like, as coming from a guy that barely got any sleep last night, I am looking for some tips.
Well, my work schedule changing has really helped. Not being at the gym I used to come home 6 o'clock, make dinner for my kids, get my kids in bed, go to the gym at 9. I wouldn't be home till midnight. I'd have to get back up at 5. So just my work schedule and being able to separate my work days and my training days has really, really helped me. Um, and just telling myself, okay, it's 10 o'clock. Like, I don't care that the dishes aren't done or the laundry's not folded or whatever. It's time for bed. Like, I have to prioritize going to sleep, and not just for my physical well-being but for my mental well-being. Um, it it sleep is everything, so I definitely just prioritize that, and I try not to fall asleep with the TV on and things like that. I try to just I've got some blackout curtains now that block all the light out, so it really helps it stay in a sleep zone for me.
Whereas you're like me, where you're scrolling through right before you go to bed, and then you realize, oh, the movie Chinatown is free now, where it's a movie that I've never seen. Everyone's always raved about it. So I'm going to start that, and I'll watch 15 minutes of it, and then I'll go to sleep. And then next thing you know, it's one of the most riveting movies you've seen. So then you watch the whole 2.5 hours of it. And then after that, you realize, oh, it's past midnight, and the new TV show that I like drops at midnight every Thursday night going into Friday. So I might as well watch that. And then you look at the clock, and you're like, yeah, it's already 1:30. So, I should
You're
get
like
to bed
down
right
the
now.
rabbit hole then.
Yeah. So everyone, yeah, I honestly, and well, the problem with me too is that like I know that that you lived a while in Minnesota, so you understand what summers can be like here. But like it was 103 degrees on Monday here, and then it was like it's like in the mid 90s now. So like I cannot go on my night walks really until about like 9 o'clock now, because that's when it's just dark enough where like I don't get absolutely just burnt to a crisp, or just it's too hot. So I'm not getting home until like 10:30, and then I try to get in bed after that, but then you got to eat and
Right.
refuel after that. So
Yeah,
it
you
is.
can't just put your body down, you have to it takes some time to unwind, so
Well, and you're talking to me. And you're talking to me in general. That's the average person on just. It's like if the average person was on cocaine, basically, is me. Basically, I'm not on cocaine, but just that hyperactiveness where it's like it's gonna be hard for people to wind down. But this is a question that I've asked you every single time, and I will continue to ask it to you every single time that I have you on. If there's one thing that you could change about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it, what will be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
This is gonna sound I don't know, maybe it's gonna sound shallow, but I really wish that they would compensate, the athletes better
That's
for their
been my
work.
answer every single last podcast that like the last 100 of them that I've done.
It's the only sport that, professional athletes don't make any money. It's kinda disappointing.
I've always said if you're a pro, you should have at least a base salary that you should not have to work a regular 9 to 5 job. You should be,
Exactly.
I mean, even if it's like a little thing, even if it's like a 30,000 or $40,000 stipend plus like sponsorships and stuff like that, just so that
Right.
you can have a base to work on. Because yeah, people don't understand how much easier this lifestyle would be on people if you didn't have to worry about like your nine to
Oh,
five job.
that was the one thing during the pandemic that I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm living like a real bodybuilder. I'm eating, sleeping, repeat." And like that's like it was amazing. I couldn't imagine being blessed enough to be able to do that every day and really. I sometimes I think, God, how much better could I be if I could
The
really
end
give this
product would be
all?
so much better too, because people would have more. So like it would be like an investment basically, where you invest money in these buy, and the end product would be, I think, much better because they'd have more time to sleep, relax, and train. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So if that's something that we could change, that would be good. I would definitely push for that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a thing where like you basically have to win the Olympia to be able to do this just as a job basically. Like that shouldn't be just the be all thing. Yeah, it's I do think that there needs to be something done with that too as well. And I mean, before we wrap things up, again, always, is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Um, well, my coach, Derek, he's been great. I've been with him since the very beginning, and I think we have changed a lot up this prep. I'm doing things this year that I've never done before that have been really beneficial. So we finally found our stride and what's working for me, and so I really feel blessed to be with him this year again. To my boyfriend Chris, I've never had somebody so supportive. Never had somebody willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that I'm successful. And so I'm very, very blessed. Shout out to him, and then just my family and friends who support me, um, and fans. Fans have been great. Fans have been great. Overall, we need them in this sport in order for it to continue to grow and be successful. So shout out to all of
Well, before we wrap things up, you put your hair back. Holy traps! Good God, Sherry, Jesus!
them.
Good God, that is ridiculous.
you know,
Yeah, that is insane.
We gotta grow everything.
Got to grow
Traps, arms,
everything.
shoulders, chest,
Yep.
legs.
Absolutely. Well, again, everyone, go and give her a follow on her Instagram page. I highly recommend it. You will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating those Twinkies. But again, Sherry, I cannot thank you enough for coming back on again. You're one of my favorite guests to talk to, and I look forward to having you on again.
I appreciate your time, Ryan. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing off. Have a great day, everyone.